Hello friend, I want to tell you about the Nissan Juke car. When Nissan presented this car in 2009, some were delighted, others thought it was a joke. The Japanese manufacturer took the Juke very seriously and put the strange-looking concept into production, and sales are still looking quite good. Although it is a relatively new model, it has already established itself on the secondary market. Prices are high, but that does not prevent it from gaining interest. Is it a car worth considering? The Juke is the result of Nissan's strong drive to replace all classic cars in its European offer with crossovers. While the Qashqai is great as a compact, the Juke still needs to support itself with the smaller Micra to fill lower segments. Engines. The basic engine powering the Juke is a 1.6-liter petrol unit with 117 horsepower. It was installed until 2013, when a weaker 94 horsepower version was introduced. This is related to the facelift, which was carried out a year later, and the new 1.2 DIG-T unit with direct injection and turbocharging offered from then on. It produces a similar power of 115 horsepower and replaces the previous naturally aspirated engine of 117 horsepower. From the very beginning, there was a powerful 1.6 DIG-T petrol in the range, generating 190 horsepower. It also powers the Nismo version, in which it reaches 214 to 218 horsepower. The diesel range is exceptionally modest. It is a single 1.5 DCI engine with 110 HP. Of course, Renault design, known from many Alliance cars. Which engine to choose? Analyzing the engine versions available in this model, it is easy to come to the conclusion that the choice is very simple, because these are extremely different units. The most powerful version is the rarest and expensive, so few people decided to buy it. The engine itself gives a decent kick, because it generates 240 Nm of torque, so you can safely count on a sporty experience. This is currently a relatively unpopular unit, so it's hard to say anything more about it. The Nismo version of the car provides excellent performance and is offered with front-wheel drive and a limited slip differential, or with 4x4 drive and an automatic. Little is known about the shortcomings of the 1.2 DIG-T engine, which is only partly an alternative to the naturally aspirated 1.6 with 117 HP. Due to its use in newer cars, while simultaneously withdrawing the larger engine, prices on the market look slightly different. While the 1.2 gives better performance due to higher torque, runs more quietly and economically, the 1.6 engine is simply solid and proven. It has a timing chain, and basically you don't have to do anything to it, apart from basic servicing. It's also easier to buy parts and repair. You can expect fewer problems in the future, when the mileage reaches the magic 200,000 kilometers. So the choice should be treated as follows. The smaller 1.2 petrol is for people looking for a facelifted, relatively young car, while the 1.6 is for those choosing cheaper pre-facelift cars with higher mileage. There is still the 1.6 engine after the facelift, i.e. the 94 horsepower version. It is hard to say anything about it, except that it is certainly weaker, less dynamic and rather more fuel-hungry than the 1.2. However, it is an interesting alternative for people who want to buy a Nissan Juke with a certain engine for many years, but a facelift version. I left the 1.5 DCI engine for last, which was actually sold in two versions, not power, but torque. Initially, it generated 240 Nm, but from 2013, 260 Nm. Thanks to this, it became more dynamic, but also much more expensive to repair. It's hard to expect most cars to require any repairs, but it's worth knowing that from that point on, piezo injectors were used, a different turbocharger, electronic oil pump control, and the engine works with a differently stepped gearbox. The first two gears are shorter, and the others are longer. What should we expect from such changes? Certainly a greater risk of incurring higher costs in the event of a serious failure, but also a greater durability of the injection system. It must be admitted that the 1.5 DCI engine is already a refined design, although we still recommend changing the oil at least twice as often as the manufacturer specifies, i.e. every 15,000 kilometers. The same applies to the older engine, offered in this model from the beginning. In its case, there is no need to worry about any serious failures, because they do not happen. At higher mileage, however, there are problems with EGR or one of the sensors responsible for the correct operation of the unit. However, there is no need to worry about the famous bearings. If you keep an eye on the oil service, the minimum you will do on this engine is about 250,000 kilometers. For the 2010 and 2011 model years, a recall was announced for the turbocharger boost sensor bracket. In the 2015 model year, May to October, the engine control software needs to be improved and the DPF filter may need to be replaced. Nissan's recalls are running smoothly, and the cars that were supposed to participate are usually repaired. So which engine to choose? It's simple. You need a dynamic car 1.6 DIG-T. A car for long distances is the diesel version. If you like to go faster sometimes, but don't drive very much, then the 1.2 DIG-T is a great option. You don't care about performance, we suggest the 1.694 HP. The 117 HP engine will be best in cars with high mileage or those that you intend to drive for a long time. What's broken? The Juke is a short-lived model, but it has already had a few recalls, as we've mentioned. Another one involved models from 2010 to 2014, which were experiencing fuel leaks. It affected a small number of cars sold in Europe. In addition, the 2012 cars had a faulty airbag system, which developed small holes when deployed. The suspension works quite well on European roads. The large and solid lower wishbone at the front has a strong design, but also replaceable bushings and a pivot pin. If we were to name the most serious defect in the use of this model, it would be the interior, which was assembled carelessly in the pre-facelift models. It is slightly better since 2014, but it is still average at best. Even in new models, something can creak, and the decorative plastics on the dashboard and the center tunnel made of shiny plastic are already scratched after a year of use. Nissan should sell these elements as accessories for little money. In this topic, much depends on the year of the car. The fact is that there are few replacement parts for the 1.2 DIG-T engine and they are more expensive than for the 1.6. On the other hand, for this unit there is no problem even with obtaining such components as a timing drive kit. We do have suspension and brake components. Prices are not particularly high, so servicing costs are relatively low. The same applies to diesel, which is so popular that you can buy almost anything. Nissan Juke with petrol engine should satisfy its needs with 8 liters of petrol for every 100 kilometers, even in city conditions. This is a safe and reliable value, which is difficult to exceed. The 1.6 DIG-T version can burn more, but only with sporty driving. The naturally aspirated 1.6 engine burns about 7 100 kilometers, while the 1.2 needs a liter less. In the city, the turbocharged version will be more economical, but if someone has a heavy foot, it will burn more petrol than the 1.6. The 1.5 DCI diesel is famous for its small appetite and average values around 5 100 kilometers should not come as a surprise. On the road, this engine can go down to an impressive 4.5 100 km. In the city, it is also very economical. The price of tires for Nissan Juke depends largely on the rim size. The most common is 205/60ths R16. The Nissan Juke is a car so new that most are fully insured. However, it is worth remembering that the car can be a tasty morsel for a thief, because there are not many used spare parts on the market, and its popularity is constantly growing. It is worth protecting yourself against theft. It is a matter of taste. Generally, crossovers of this class do not always make sense, but the Juke is a practical and nice car, especially the facelifted version with a larger boot. It drives well, copes with difficult urban terrain and gives the owner a sense of originality. It is expensive, but the low depreciation is a consolation. When buying a Nissan, It is worth visiting an authorized service center to verify its technical condition and obtain information on whether the car is not subject to a service campaign. The 1.6 engine with 117 HP is a sure thing for this model. However, all versions, including Nismo, can be sincerely recommended. Thanks for listening to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know of any problems with this car that I haven't mentioned, be sure to write about them in the comments.
I have good news for you. Now, if you are planning to buy a used car, or learn more about your car, you no longer need to search for the information you need on the internet. We have collected everything in one place for you, on the website carme.pro. Here you can find out everything about the car, what breaks and at what mileage, any problems with engines, chassis or gearboxes, which trim levels are better not to mess with, and how not to lose money buying a used car. You will learn all this on carme.pro.